small mountain town of Marshall, North Carolina, an old railroad depot became much more than a place to hear music. It became the heartbeat of a community. Then Hurricane Helene swept the building away. But while the depot was lost, its spirit wasn't. Within weeks, the people of Marshall gathered again. The musicians tuned their instruments, and the music found a new home.
The building just picked up and washed down the street. And all our stuff, we had so much memorabilia in there, that had to do with the railroad and with music things and pictures and it was, and so we had to find a place for these musicians to play. We couldn't stop, and plus I had promised Forrest Jarrett on his deathbed. When he was laying on the hospital bed in his bedroom, and we, were whispering, making promises, and I promised that I would keep the depot going, but I didn't know the damn thing was going to wash down the river.
Hello, I'm Tim Barnwell, and welcome to the Face of Appalachia. My friend Pat Franklin spent her entire life in the small mountain community of Kalamazoo, a crossroads just down the river from Marshall, North Carolina. She grew up in an old Presbyterian house where generations of families came for church, school, and help from missionary Mary Morris. Those roots gave her a deep love for the history and people of Madison County. Pat is a highly respected and beloved community leader. Over the years, she's worn many hats, working in public service, helping young musicians, volunteering throughout the community, and bringing people together through music. Early on, she became involved with the Marshall Depot, one of Western North Carolina's most beloved gathering places for old-time and bluegrass music. Pat was one of the driving forces that helped it grow into something bigger than just a music venue. It became a place where neighbors gathered, strangers became friends, and everyone was welcome. When Hurricane Helene washed the depot away, Pat was determined that the music and the community it created wouldn't disappear with it. Within weeks, musicians were once again playing at various locations in the county, and today that tradition continues at Maitland's Twist Again Dance Barn, while the community looks forward to the day the depot returns to downtown Marshall. To understand why the music matters so much to her, you first have to understand Pat and the place she's always called home.
So this is a photograph of this place many years ago?
It is, and this is the house I grew up in. That's the manse, and my parents bought that house from Aunt Mary Morris, who's the Presbyterian missionary that lived here and ministered in the community. She's a midwife, and she taught people about good hygiene and how to take care of their babies and those kinds of things. And this is the church, and both of them were built around 1893. And this is the church, and look what an ornate steeple's on the top there.
And that's the building we're sitting in today.
Mm-hmm, it is. And those windows, those huge windows, they're the size of doors. And the entrance, there's a little entrance here and a little entrance there to the church and school. And it was a 3-teacher school, which was a pretty big school back in those days. And my dad and his brothers and sisters all went to that school. And there's corn. This is all corn, planted right up to the door, all around. And I think this is corn down here. I'd hate to have to harvest all that. God almighty, can you imagine?
Yeah. Growing up here gave Pat Franklin a deep love for the history and people of Madison County. Throughout her life, she's brought people together through community, music, and the arts. Long before the Marshall Depot, Pat was already building the spirit of community that would later help keep its music alive.
I used to have called the soiree at Kalamazoo, and it was a summer yard party, a soiree, and that was the stage. And we'd have Balsam Range and Laura Businger's band. We had lots of good entertainment play, and they'd play for. It'd be like about a 3-hour event, and we'd feed everybody.
Tell me kind of your association and how long you've been helping out at the depot.
Well, I was chairman of the Arts Council, and the building that we were in was so hot that we could, in the summertime, we couldn't have a music program at night or the afternoon. We just had fans, and so I had the big idea that I'd go down and ask the depot committee if the Arts Council could lease their building. They had central air, for some music shows and stuff. And their reply was, "We don't want that crowd of drunks down here. You're talking about me and Mama, and I mean, it's the arts." So I told the town board, I said, if there's ever an opening on that committee, I want to go on it. So Lawrence Ponder was the mayor, and they promised me okay, and so there was an opening, and they put me on. And Mr. Forrest Jarrett, who had helped get the depot to start with from the railroad, he was on their committee, and I think they basically had run him off too, and he went back on the board, and the whole damn board quit. So Mr. Jarrett and Everett Boone and I were the depot board of directors, and we didn't have meetings. If we had to decide something, we'd just stand around the desk and figure it out and decide what to do. And that way we didn't have any falling out, and we didn't have people coming in telling us what they think we ought to do. We did what we thought we ought to do, and we just got along a whole lot better. So Mr. Jarrett and I became bosom buddies. I used to tell people that he's a diehard Republican and I'm a diehard Democrat, but we're sort of a mixed couple. I just loved him dearly and was brokenhearted when he died, and miss him.
Well, tell me what a usual Friday night would have been like.
At the depot?
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Jarrett would get there early, and he'd get in his perch behind the desk selling 50-50 tickets and welcoming people. And when the women would come in, he'd tell them they was the prettiest woman he'd ever seen, and he was quite a character. And he'd sell those tickets and welcome people, and by the time they left, he'd know their story, which is kind of neat. Lawrence Ponder kind of, I guess, welcomed everybody, and he'd always ask, if people that the first time that they came were there and where they were from. And we had people we had an astronaut come one time. We had an actor that was in Hamilton on Broadway at the depot one time. We had a woman that was from the Congo. We had a guy from North Korea.
Bands would come and play
they would
sets?
Yeah, they would play a 30-minute set, and then we would have a cakewalk every 30-minute set. And
what's a cakewalk? Describe what that is.
Well, you probably did it when you was in elementary school, but anyway, you pay $1 and you walk around, and then when the music stops, you stop, and they pick a number out of the hat, and the number where you're standing, the number was on the seat. You won a cake. That was how we made our money, the cakewalks. And we'd make there'd be like 30 maybe people, cakewalk, so it'd be $30 a cakewalk. And we'd sell 50-50 tickets, and when we would draw the number for that, you'd get half the money, and the depot would get half the money. We didn't make any money on the hot dogs. We had $2 hot dogs, and Mr. Jarrett didn't want us to charge anybody to get in because he wanted families to come and bring their children and not have to worry about paying a fee for everybody to get in, because a lot of families couldn't afford it, and for them to be able to buy something, a candy bar and a drink and that kind of stuff at a reasonable price. So we didn't make any money on the concessions, but we didn't make much money, but we paid our own bills and looked after ourselves. The town didn't have to. We never had to go to them to ask for anything. If something tore up, we fixed it.
What do you think made the Depot different than other music venues?
Because it was local. I mean, we were a community stage. If you said you were a band, we'd give you 30 minutes.
So you played down at the Depot?
About 20 years. And I played for Bill Young for 5 years. And I played Old Fort and Marion and Waynesville, pretty much all over the country.
So what did you like about the Depot?
It was at home. Didn't have to go nowhere.
And home folks.
Yeah.
And you played with local people
Yeah.
that you knew.
When there wasn't nobody down there, it was me and Claude McMahon, Offie Medcalf, and Louise Wally. We played there for over 2 years.
They kept us going.
That's all that was there.
We could depend on them being there. And see, we didn't book ahead. We just had a sign-up sheet, and people signed up for the time slots. And some of the band members would come really early, you know, and get, you know, the best slots. And so, and we had 6 bands. I mean, that's a lot of bands. We were dang lucky that we had good bands come and play for nothing. I mean, we've had some, you know, bands that make good money playing. That's all they do. But they'd come and do a show at the Depot, which is a major lick for us, and then it washed away.
So what was your first knowledge of what happened to the Depot?
Bobby Hicks, who was my neighbor and dear friend, and I used to take him to his doctor's appointments and stuff because his wife worked with FEMA and she was gone a lot. So I was kind of the standby to look after Bobby, and I loved him dearly. And after he died, the IBMA awards were going on that weekend in Raleigh, and they were going to honor Bobby. And we took his fiddle down there, the Golden Boy, for Jason Carter to play and do this thing honoring him. And so Kathy and I went down there to that. Hell, the Depot washed away that Saturday. So we had heard that it was just pouring the rain, you know, and floods and stuff. And we started back home, and we couldn't get into Bunker. We had to go all the way around and had to go up into Tennessee. And we got to Kingsport and found a motel and a Cracker Barrel with Wi-Fi. So we stayed in that motel for 3 days before we could get into Madison County. And I sent a text message to Logan Clark. I said, well, how did the Depot fare? And he said, it washed away. It's gone. I said, what in the hell do you mean it's gone? I had a flag that had flown over the embassy in Beijing, China, that a friend of mine who worked for the State Department had given me, and I had it at the Depot. And I just, every day I think of something else. Well, we lost the telegraph machine that was at the Depot, and all those pictures, and God. You know, we never missed a beat. I found a place for us to have the music jams that we had at the Depot. Within 2 weeks we were playing, and we were having our regular Friday night show. We have it up at Maitland's Dance Barn, but we have it on Saturday nights instead of Friday nights now. And you know, within 2 weeks we were back on stage, and the music's continued, and it will continue.
So where are we tonight?
Where are we? Is this like thing recording something? Yeah. Oh. Well, we are at the Dance Barn, the Twist Again Dance Barn. After the flood, as I was mentioning, Mayland reopened it. It had been closed for many years. But they used to do line dancing in here. He built it for line dancing. But it had been closed, and flood came, took the Depot, and Mayland turned right up, and well, I think Dwight, his brother, twisted his arm, and he said, yeah, y'all can come, and we've been here ever since, every Saturday, while we wait to get the Depot back downtown.
So how long's it been now?
Well, what was it? Here,
2 years.
September 27th of 24 was the flood. So we're coming up on 2 years. Yeah. The depot just before the flood, I think, was really rolling. We had a map on the wall, 23 countries. People had come in to visit the depot. People had come through from, bluegrass groups, like even from Europe when they came through. They'd say they want to come to the depot, see something real.
Yeah.
And so that was beautiful, and we hope that'll come back. This is beautiful here. This is very much more Madison County. If you don't know this is here, you're not going to get here. So it's not like the depot downtown.
But people, they see it on the internet and
Yeah.
they put it in their GPS, and there's people sitting in there on the bench. I said, well, did you think coming up here, did you think, oh Lord, we're coming somewhere that we can't get out of? And she said, yes, we thought that. And they parked down here by the sawmill and on the side of the hill, a bank and whatever, and have a good time.
Yeah.
I grew up in New York. There's nothing like this in the state of New York, I don't think. I mean, this right here is about as Madison County centric as you can get. I mean, it's unlike anything that I had growing up, anything that I've seen or experienced. So Jolie is an all-star, man. She has played in New York City with some of the biggest rock stars in the history of music.
David Bowie,
David Byrne,
the Ramones.
on and on. I mean, she is a rock star.
So
And
we,
you see it when
when
She
we
had her own band.
when we came to Marshall and we found the depot, we'd never seen anything like it.
Dwight, what do you like about coming to these events?
This event,
Yeah.
well, I love it. I've been doing it for 40 years. I love it.
So what is it that you like about it?
Truthfully, entertaining the people. As long as they get something out of it and like it, that gives them something to look forward to.
You're playing next week, right? Yeah. Your whole band?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So what kind of songs do you play?
I do some Waylon and Merle Haggard and George Jones and just different ones. I guess my favorite's Good-Hearted Woman. That kicks the crowd out on the dance floor.
Buildings can be rebuilt, but places like the Marshall Depot are really built on something deeper than lumber and brick. They're built on people. People willing to volunteer, share their music, welcome strangers, and keep traditions alive. Pat Franklin has carried on that responsibility for many years, but she also knows that no community survives unless the next generation is willing to carry it forward. That's why she's placed her confidence in friends Jolie and Lee and local musician Logan Clark, who she believes will help guide the Marshall Depot into its next chapter. The building may be gone for now, but as long as people continue gathering to make music together, the spirit of the depot is still very much alive.
And it's like at the depot is local people that came and local bands. It's just the most local place you can go, and it still is the most local place in Madison County you can go if you want to mingle with the locals. People are friendly, and you'll make a friend. It has to be a community stage where local people can come, that work down at the sawmill, and they can come up there and they can pick and sing, and their friends and neighbors can come and see them. It don't cost anything to get in, and you can get a good hot dog for $2. And Mr. Jarrett's motto was, "We love everybody." We don't care who your daddy is. We don't care how much money you've got. We don't care who you pray to. And we don't care who you love. And we don't give a damn about what you think about a pistol, if there ought to be one or not. Everybody's got a place if they want to have a place at the Marshall Depot. What makes us mountain people, we always, we live in what used to be. And we want to save everything that has anything to do with it.
Yeah.
What is that? I don't know, but I'm stricken. I know that.
On this channel, I hope to continue to honor the people, vibrant culture, and strong traditions of Appalachia. If you share my interest in the people and places I call home, be sure to hit the like and subscribe buttons to learn more about this way of life. The black and white photographs in our videos are taken from my 3 Appalachian-themed books, which are available online. You can find us at thefaceofappalachia.com and barnwellphoto.com, and on Instagram at Tim Barnwell Photography. Thanks for stopping by. Hope to see you again soon.
So, what do you think makes Marshall unique?
I think what makes Marshall unique is the size, and it's just rammed up against the rock cliffs and the river. And then the bridge coming across, right in front of the courthouse, and when they replaced that bridge, it wasn't, it's off center a little. But we've kind of got used to that, I guess. But I think it's places like Penland's and Bowman's Hardware, when you go in and AJ hunts you whatever kind of nails you need, and Kathy McCormick. And I think it's the people. They're friendly, and if you're good to them, as I say, if you're good to us, we'll take you home and look after you.